Hallelujah.
Sally, if you could help us with the roll call, please.
Certainly. Mayor Kent Atwell,
Present.
Alderperson Tim Eicher.
Here.
Dave Greenway is absent. Dan Jaschinski.
Here.
Ed Merrick.
Here.
Laura Schultz.
Here.
Robert Weiler.
Here.
We also have Planner Roger Dupler and Building Inspector Scott Hussinger with
They
us.
call me.
Thank you.
Great, thank
I'm sorry, we do have Jim Ryer.
And thank you.
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay.
Nice work, Sally.
So we have a special order of business, appoint members to sign the oaths, which has been taken care of. So we'll move on to the next item, which is public hearing. Public hearing number 1, DELC 0790.99.001, and a couple of other ones, Oakwood Drive, Delafield, applicant Rogers Memorial Hospital Incorporated, Covenant 8 beds designed for juvenile patients to adult patients. This action will remove treatment of juveniles from the facility. All other operations and staffing will remain unchanged. Total of 24 beds, unchanged, and additional 40 parking spaces to be implemented as originally approved in the operations plan. Is there anybody that would like to speak specifically to that issue, public hearing number 1?
A presentation from the applicant?
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
You can come on up. And if you just give us your name and address, please.
Bob Snyder, I'm the attorney for Rogers, 216 North Lake Road, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin.
Barbara Woodstone, South 24 West 22035 Broadway in Waukesha. I'm the Vice President of Facilities for Rogers.
Yeah, if you just want to give us a brief overview, if you have anything to add besides what we read off there for you.
No, it's a simple change. This is one thing the community of Delafield had indicated to us back in 2017, I believe, that they would prefer that we treat adults there, and now we're making the change to only treat adults there.
Okay, great.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I will also add to Barb's presentation. In the packet that was submitted, there is a confirmed location for pre-approved land bank parking that was in the packet. That's what you see illustrated here with the red line locations.
Are we all set? On the back? All right. Unless you have other things you'd like to add.
I could go through the factors under Chapter 17 if you want me to, but I think everything's gotten better from there, and if you looked at your packet, I don't know, you've got a lot of stuff to do tonight. Let me know if you want me to.
Okay, we will. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move to item number 1, approve Planning Commission meeting minutes of March 27, 2019.
So moved.
A second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. City of Delafield citizens' comments pertaining to subjects on the consent agenda. So that's only item 3A. If you have any citizens' comments on 3A, which is Graywood Court, Neshoda owner applicant, Parklawn Village LLC, any citizens' comments on that specific topic? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. For the consent agenda, now the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda 3A.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Okay, now what we've all been waiting for.
This is
Item number 4, City of Delafield citizens' comments pertaining to items on or off the agenda. So it's basically anything you'd like to speak about. And since we have so many people here, we've got some ground rules that I'm going to go over with you just so you're clear. These are rules that we've used in the past, and we want to use them again here today. We have a lot of people that want to be heard, and we want you to all be heard. Thank you for coming tonight. We're glad that you're here. We're eager to listen to your comments on all items on or off the agenda. But please keep your comments to a minimum of 5 minutes and preferably 3. Please try not to repeat what others have said. Simply tell us you agree with their comments and add any new comments you might have. I see some new faces, and we will help you through the process. If you're unsure of something, please just ask. Raise your hand and ask, and we'll answer it for you, or I will. When you come up, we need to hear your name and address, and it would be helpful if you could tell us if you live in the city of Delafield or somewhere else. Some people have a Heartland mailing address, but they actually live in the city of Delafield. You could help clarify that for us, that'd be great. Then the Common Council will listen to what you have to say. They are not allowed to discuss any of these topics with you. We're here to listen. I'd also like to remind you that reaching out to your alderperson can also be a great first step for communicating an escalation for any concerns or feedbacks. So at 3 minutes, I'll give you a warning, and 5, I'm going to pretty much cut you off. So let's go. Who would like to be first? Simple raise of hands, and we'll bring you up as quickly as we can. Come on up.
We're going to present from here.
Well, I say count.
Absolutely.
1 second. Should pop over there, I think. Mike, is it?
Did you coordinate with Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
You want to grab the mic close to you, too?
Yep, thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Scott Koss. I live at 243 East Laurel Circle in Delafield, city of Delafield, Wisconsin.
Scott, could you repeat that one more time, just a little
that too
slower
fast?
for me? Yep, I'm good, I'm not
I
that
was
good.
feeling the pressure.
I know.
243 East Laurel Circle,
Thank you.
Delafield.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody tonight. My name is Scott Koss. My wife Paula and I have had the privilege of living here in Delafield for the past 10 years. We raise our 2 boys in this lovely community. I'm also representing, and that's my Bernedoodle, Winston. I'm also representing a group of neighbors called Delafield Citizens for Responsible Growth. We are composed of fellow citizens, stakeholders, and neighbors who are committed to the strategic and responsible growth of our community. We value Delafield's unique charm, yet we understand that in order to preserve it, we need positive economic development. Our group organized because we did not see the level of economic development happening in our city that is needed to sustain our community over the long term. A few points that were key to our organization. The Presswick project that was recently lost to a neighboring city would have been a large positive economic impact and outcome for our city. Kettle Moraine School District is struggling financially, and the recent referendum failed. Annual tax revenue from the Presswick project and the proposed Hendricks project alone would equate to almost $500,000 a year of annual revenue for our Kettle Moraine School District. These 2 examples alone demonstrate a pathway to protect our schools through responsible economic growth. The city leadership have yet to come to a compromise with the current proposal, and the perceived tone of our city to the business community at large is concerning to us as citizens. We were worried that the Hendricks Commercial Group would lose interest in Delafield. And, unbeknownst to myself, I discovered that they have recently invested millions of dollars in our community, including refurbishing and repainting the downtown. And fortunately, our buildings are beautiful, but they're expensive to upkeep. And so, from our perspective, we want to say thank you and let's work together to enhance our city. Delafield is lagging behind surrounding communities, and its residents are woefully uninformed of key city initiatives that have big impact on the wellness of our community. So our mission is simple. We desire to collaborate with the city of Delafield to realize the benefits of the city's 2030 Comprehensive Economic Plan, and we will excel at communicating these initiatives with our fellow citizens so we can have a larger number of citizens that are well informed. We currently reach about 500 neighbors in our community. And when appropriate, we will support the execution of projects that are essential for responsible and sustainable growth. So we're all here to discuss the project on Genesee Street. In an effort to learn more, our group met with the Hendricks Commercial Properties for the past few months on a number of occasions. And to be clear, most of us, myself included, did not know Mr. Gerbitz or anyone who worked for Hendricks Properties. But after numerous meetings with them, I have found the Hendricks Group to be very thoughtful about every aspect of the project and how it impacts our community. We've had the opportunity to see all their versions, and we understand that the current proposal will require provisions to the city code. And many of the buildings that exist in our downtown have also required allowances in the past. But here are the added benefits that we see. We see underground parking, we see above-ground parking, we see outdoor spaces, we see a balance of proper business space to attract a properly sized business to sustain our economic development downtown and have good foot traffic. And a huge thing, almost $385,000 of taxable revenue that comes into our community. And so the question is there added value that offsets the variance to these codes? And so from our perspective, we firmly believe that that answer is yes, and it needs to be thoughtfully considered in the discussion. Lastly, we hear a lot of discussion about wanting to preserve Delafield, and we want to preserve it as well. But we need to be conscious of the entire economic ecosystem and how it all works together. We want a safe community, we want the best schools, we want beautiful natural spaces, we want places to shop and eat. But all of this requires strategic economic planning. And we ask a very important question: who is charged with business development in Delafield? Many similar-sized cities have dedicated city officials overseeing business development or utilize county government resources to achieve those goals. Now, we understand that change isn't easy, but our city, the Planning Commission, our citizens, we need to clearly understand that staying still is a good recipe for failure and losing what we're all trying to preserve. So for my closing, leading up to some of my friends and colleagues, we love living in Delafield. Without question, we find the same appreciation after our meetings with the Hendricks Group. This is not just a financial investment for them, it's an intentional and dedicated investment in our community. I don't think they have to invest in our community, they're choosing to. We, our group, myself, are not the arbiters of style and taste, but we find the project has been designed to blend some of the looks together and has some key value adds that we perceive as an upgrade for our community. And I and we personally support this project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You nailed it right at 5 minutes.
He's the longest, I promise.
Sure.
It's citizens' comments, so you can talk about anything, but yes, that's what they're talking about. Yep. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Josh Feith. I live at 150 North Fieldstone Road. I've been a resident of the city of Delafield for a little over 8 years now. I, like Scott, am a member of this group. The reason I'm here specifically this evening is what I passed out to the group in front of me is page 173 of the 2030 Comprehensive Plan was put together back in 2009, and it's ultimately the roadmap for our city over the course of the next 30 years. For those of you who are not familiar with the 2030 Plan, it's ultimately, like I said, it's the roadmap for 30 years for the city of Delafield. It covers a lot of different information, but there's one chapter specifically that I'm going to highlight here this evening, and that's economic development. Within that economic development section, there's actually goals and clear objectives that are outlined for not only us as a community to consider, but our officials to look at and go back and review. Actually, just last year, the 10-year anniversary, we as a city had the opportunity to review that same comprehensive plan, and it was determined that no changes were necessary. So the plan that was in place 10 years ago is still relevant today, and those same goals and objectives that we thought were important 10 years ago are still relevant, like I said, today. So that's what I'm going to spend a few minutes on here, but what I also want to point out is probably much like everybody else in this room, over the last few years and the last decade, there's been substantial economic growth across our country, the state, and even southeastern Wisconsin. We're seeing it in our surrounding communities and municipalities. We may not appreciate the growth in some areas, some may not. But to Scott's point, I don't think we've seen a lot of opportunities here in Delafield. As I look around, I probably see more for lease or vacancies than I do, new things happening. As Scott had pointed out, so my understanding, there's not a person in charge of economic development within our city, and so that's why I'm personally here, is I want to work with the city and collaborate to figure out how do we preserve what we have, which is fantastic. That's why we moved here, but we can't just stay stagnant. We've got to evolve a little bit. We can't get comfortable. So the things I just want to focus on here real quickly is directly from our comprehensive 2030 plan. The first statement, quite simply, the principle was foster a strong, diversified, and balanced economy by promoting economic development and business that responds to the city's demonstrated need. very well thought through, in my opinion. There are a total of 5 goals within this comprehensive plan. The 3 I'm going to focus on are specifically, I think, in relation to this project here this evening that we're discussing. The first goal is respond to the needs of the business community. And within that, there's an objective specifically that says, work with the business community to identify economic development initiatives. Goal 2, promote business retention, expansion, and new startups. This one's got 3 objectives that I think are very relevant to this proposal. One is attract higher technology, white collar, quote unquote, higher value added industries, support existing institutions with business development, and the third objective was encourage and support business that will increase the tax revenue for the city. Lastly, the third goal, which I thought was important to bring up this evening, was promote an adequate economic base to support a range of employment opportunities, and within that, we should be actively recruiting and market to businesses that will fulfill the city's demonstrated needs. So,
3 minutes.
Thank you. In closing, when I look at the proposal at 705 Genesee Street, there's a great opportunity for our city to become informed, and that's what I'm hopefully here to help with this evening. Information is critical in making good, sound decisions. And so when I look at that proposal, and I specifically look at the objectives and goals put forth in our strategic plan as a city and as a community, I think they align very nicely, and I'm in full support of this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Josh, could you give me your last name one more time?
V-I-E-T.
I'm speaking, sir. I'm
Okay.
going to speak next.
And you live at 150?
That's okay, no.
Okay, thank you very much.
How many people do you have for the PowerPoint?
We have 7.
7, okay, so we'll do your 7, just so everybody knows. We'll do your 7, and then we'll move on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is John Riveras. I live at 174 North Fieldstone Road in the city of Delafield. Last name's R-A-V as in Victor, A-R-I-S.
Thank you.
I wanted to just pick up on where Josh left off with goal number 4 that people are passionate about, and that's the promotion of and maintenance of our unique identity of downtown. I've personally lived with my wife and 2 girls in the city of Delafield for 11 years. We're New Englanders, so one of the reasons why we live in this town is because we love the New England feel of Delafield. As Josh said, the 2030 plan gives us great direction on what we should be doing as a city to promote economic development. But I want to really spend a little bit of time talking about this uniqueness and identity of our downtown. One, because I know it's passionate and has a lot of passion for a lot of people. And 2, we think it's the center of really the valuable discussion that we're having here tonight. I think one of the big things that we like to think about is that the unique identity of Delafield is much more than just the Lang buildings that everybody wants to talk about. When we got kind of involved in our coalition, all we heard was about the Lang buildings. And we believe that our city has a variety of different buildings of varying architectural designs that make up its unique identity. So there's more than just the Lang buildings that make up our unique identity. We've proven already as a city that old and new architecture can work together, that colonial and non-colonial architecture can work together. As you see on the slide, our oldest building, the Hawks Inn, now sits directly across the street from our newest building, the Wells Apartments, and right next to one of our beloved Lang buildings. So we've proven as a city that old and new architecture of different styles can work together, and we believe that to be the fact. We also believe that the BP station lot has, yes, uniqueness to it, and yes, you can see Lang buildings from it, but you can also see other significant city buildings from that lot. You see the fish hatchery, you see Wells Street Station Apartments, and you see City Hall down to the south. Everybody looks at these pictures and has a different opinion of which building doesn't fit. If we went around the room, somebody would say that one of those buildings doesn't fit. The beautiful thing about this is, and as a matter of fact, they all belong. Every one of those buildings creates what's unique about our city. The proposed project on 705 Genesee belongs because it plays a very unique role in our city. Because of its location, it needs to pull together all the different architectural styles that currently exist.
3 minutes, John.
It needs to respect the heritage of our town while moving us forward into the future of how people want to live, work, and play. The proposed building is a great use of the most useful piece of real estate in our community. This plot of land sits at one of our 4 corners of our cities. Because of that, it should, and we should, as citizens, insist that the building takes a spot as substantial and meaningful in the community. In most colonial cities, I know where I grew up in New England, the main corner of Main Street and whatever other street is named have the largest buildings. It's where the town is built around. That's where the bank, the hotel, or the old mill would typically sit, and it's repeated in colonial town after colonial town. Hendricks listened to the feedback of this committee, the residents, and our coalition, and has softened the original design, added many colonial features and materials to further bridge our current architectural divide between old and new, big and small. The proposed building is a mixed-use facility that fits perfectly within the vision of our 2030 plan around fostering quality economic development. It adds much-needed high-quality parking to downtown. It'll attract quality businesses, jobs, shops, and residences. For my family and for the coalition which I joined, the question isn't, would this be the exact building which I would build? But does this building help support our existing architectural diversity while fostering the needed economic development required to preserve the uniqueness of our town? The Rivera's family believes that it does for all the reasons we've talked about. So we as a family join the Delafield Citizens for Responsible Growth in supporting this project to be approved at 705 Genesee. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you next?
I'm Dave Ziggler, live on 166 Fieldstone Road. And I believe that everybody in this room, and that would include both sides of the aisle, share a common goal, which is to create a beautiful Delafield. I think we all are united in that. But in seeking this ideal, there's going to be differences over architectural preferences and what one building does, what individual buildings do to enhance the city's beauty. Cities are rich textures of interesting buildings, eras, and spaces, some appealing to others more than other people do. We recognize that not everybody loves the architecture that's been presented here, and that there are some people, like John said, who would like every building to be a Lang building. But Delafield should not be a Williamsburg copy. We have to embrace diversity in our architecture. Recent development in architectural control around the country in certain cities is something that's called the anti-lookalike provision, where basically different buildings are expected to look different than the other ones do. In fact, Delafield's own zoning code speaks to this when they say architectural style is not restricted. And the codes say things like evaluation of appearance should be based on the quality of its design. So harmony with the existing buildings is important, but they shouldn't resemble each other. So this oftentimes necessitates variances from the city codes. This project doesn't meet all the different height, use, and different guidelines that you'd like it to. But so has nearly every other building that's been built in the downtown. When you look at the detailed renderings, which John showed, you can see that the scale of this building is very much in line with the surrounding buildings. The mixed use of this building, that being retail, residential, and restaurant, also complements the other businesses around it. Equally important, the additional height of this building provides very important parking that we wouldn't get any other way if the building was any shorter. It also supports the city's goal of creating green space in a city where the residents can kind of gather together and dine. So conditional use permits are going to be needed for this building to move forward. But we think there's a lot of positives to doing that. You get 87 new underground parking places. You get 34 new outdoor parking spaces. We got outdoor space along Genesee Street and in between the buildings where people can gather and dine. We get a proper business space that can attract desirable companies that will further gain a bigger part of our economic base in our city. And nearly $350,000 of taxable revenue has been mentioned already. So for these reasons, I ask you to support this building.
Great, thank you. We're gonna let these 7 guys go, and then we'll have you go next. Yep, I'll let you know when you're next.
Good evening. My name is Bill Pollak. I'm also part of the coalition Scott introduced earlier tonight. I've been a Lake Country resident for 22 years and a city resident for 10 years. My address is, I already know, the 165 North Fieldstone Road. One of the reasons my family decided to move to the city was because of its downtown area. I believe this proposal, 705 Genesee, provides an excellent opportunity for the city to enhance its downtown in a unique way and provide some needed economic stimulus. During construction, it will create jobs for city residents and the surrounding area. Once completed, it will generate a significant bump in property tax revenue for the site, a good portion of which will be earmarked for the city. It will enhance the value of existing downtown businesses, generating more foot traffic and driving more customers to our downtown merchants. As a result, existing downtown businesses will become more valuable, driving up their property values and increasing property tax revenue. Once completed, this project will create new ongoing job opportunities for city residents, both working at 705 and working for existing merchants. It will better position the city to attract high-tech, white-collar, and value-added businesses consistent with the city's 2030 plan. This project will make the entire city a more attractive place to live, I believe, which will serve to drive up the value of city properties outside of the downtown area. This again will serve to generate more tax revenue for the city. The city is facing a structural budget deficit. The Kettle Moraine School District is facing budget issues, as evidenced by the referendum that failed earlier this month. Once completed, annual property tax revenues for 705 Genesee alone will generate about $225,000 for the Kettle Moraine School District per year and $95,000 for the city. The city's property values aren't increasing as fast as those of our Lake Country neighbors. I've got a slide, I guess it's up there. So this slide shows over the last 3 years, the city's equalized property value increased just 7.3%. That compares to 8.9% in the town of Delafield, 10.7% in the town of Oconomowoc, 11.1% in the village of Heartland, 13.7% in the city of Pewaukee, and 16.7% in the city of Oconomowoc. Neighboring communities are competing for new development. It appears our city is falling behind.
3 minutes.
In summary, 705 Genesee would provide an economic boost for our city. It helps grow our city in a way that is consistent with the city's 2030 plan, respects who we are, but also moves us forward. For the sake of future generations of Delafielders, let's take advantage of this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Amy, your name's up on the board.
Good evening. My name is Amy Quinn, 2035 Coach Light Court. I am a resident of Delafield, a homeowner, and also a small business owner.
If you could please just try to speak in the mic. People on TV can hear you then.
Okay, oh great. Okay. 3 years ago, so I own Belfry Kitchen just across the street. 3 years ago, an opportunity was presented to me to transform a beautiful 150-year-old white steeple church that you can see up there into a restaurant. It was a chance of a lifetime to follow a dream of mine with my kids, and we decided to jump on in. Shortly after signing the lease, Hendricks Commercial Properties bought several buildings, mine being one of them. Immediately, I began to research and learn everything I could about them, my new landlords. I actually road tripped to check out some of their projects because I was curious and intrigued and also a bit nervous. Didn't know who they were, what they were wanting here in Delafield, what them being my landlords would mean to me. But what I found was a company well-known for their ability and interest in partnering with historic, charming cities, committed to preserving their rich and unique histories, all while simultaneously breathing new life and vibrance into the businesses, and meeting emerging needs of the people in these growing communities. They saw a fit here and a need, just as I did. Almost immediately, they met with me to introduce themselves and to put my mind at ease. So, plans and the demolition started. Initially, my primary challenge and responsibility that I felt personally was that knowing the history of the building and the critical and very visible location where it's at, I knew it needed to be, whatever we did, needed to be exceptional. It needed to be beautiful and classy, classic, warm and welcoming, just as it has always been, but it was going to need to be different. I needed to protect its history, yet make it current and exciting, and most importantly, a place that neighbors and guests and everybody in this room that, could be proud of. That process and challenge is exactly why I think we are here tonight. How do we seize opportunity, complement and protect the special charm we all value so highly, yet how do we grow and stay current and relevant? And most critically, how do we ensure we are economically healthy and strong? The reality is Delafield is going to change, one way or the other. The fear I have stems from what I've seen in just the short 2.5 years Belfry has been open. 3 restaurants, Ward's, Prime One, Hispania, all closed their doors since I've been open, just within a block of my restaurant. Bittersweet Boutique, Great Finds and Design, the Paint Bar all closed, a health food store closed. Several other small businesses have closed down, and most recently we just heard that the Barn Owl down in the corner is closing as well, and it's such a shame. If Delafield were in a strong, healthy, economically sound position and thriving, I don't believe we would have lost these treasures, and that's scary to me. We all want this quaint small town charm that comes from small town businesses and people, but they are closing up because our sweet city is not in a good economic position. All of these businesses that have closed have needed more. When the Prestwick project wasn't approved, I started to really wake up and pay closer attention. What a beautiful facility that would have been, and with outstanding, good people that wanted to invest in our community. Well, that missed opportunity is now Oconomowoc gain. These decisions and missed opportunities aren't just unfortunate to me, they are potentially devastating to small business owners like myself.
Amy, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I employ about 40 people at Belfry. 2/3 of my employees are full-time, and they depend on their income from Belfry to support themselves and their families. We have high school, really impressive high school kids learning how to navigate the ins and outs of first-time employment. We have college kids working to pay their bills and get themselves through school. We also partner with 10 to 15 small, hyper-local businesses right around this area, farmers and florists. I'm honored and humbled that they trust me to make sound, good, smart business decisions in order for them to be successful and for their jobs to be stable. And I am looking to you and trusting you as well. In order to be a viable business, we at Belfry need more. We need more foot traffic. We need more neighbors within walking distance of Belfry, more businessmen and businesswomen looking for a place to hold meetings during lunch, during the week, midweek, or a place to grab a drink after work, midweek. We're fortunate because we are busy all weekend long, Fridays through Sunday brunch, we're busy, but Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we need more. We need more business, more foot traffic. Hopefully, I've shown the community that I care deeply about what Belfry brings to it, how we fit, how we enhance its charm. I believe, like my colleagues have mentioned, the architecture needs to complement, not necessarily conform and copy other current buildings that we have. Our charge going forward should be to complement the buildings that we love so much. I've seen up close firsthand how new, more current architecture has melded together.
Amy, you need to wrap it up.
Seamlessly with the historic buildings that the Hendricks projects have. I've seen their projects and they're beautiful. So I guess in closing, advancement needs to be encouraged, not feared. Otherwise, we all lose. There's nothing charming, nothing quaint about 2 or 3 restaurants right now that are sitting vacant, or storefronts that are going, that are vacant as well.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Rick Lieblein, 312 Evelyn Avenue, and I own a building right across the street from the BP gas station. I fully support the Hendricks building that has been proposed. For the first time in 30 years that I've had this building, I lost a tenant to the city of Oconomowoc. And the reason I lost it is the foot traffic in Oconomowoc has been much more aggressive to welcome businesses into their city. And I believe that has to stop. And when people keep talking about the Bob Lang style buildings that have gone up, and they're beautiful buildings. But when City Hall was put up and the fire department was put up, there was a referendum in this city to decide what type building City Hall should look like. And the people voted against the colonial style buildings. I agree 100% with the people who have spoken so far in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kurt Hakenen, proud resident of Delafield, 252 Hickory Drive, City of Delafield. Proud resident for 18 years, CEO of what is, I believe, to be the largest employer in the city, Montage Talent. We're headquartered at 440 Wells Street, just down the road. Myself, my wife, my 3 children care deeply about the heritage, but also the future of our great city. A little bit about Montage. Go to the next slide. A little bit about our company. We're a fast-growing technology company, really aligned with goals 1 and 2 of the 2030 plan. Over the past 9 years, we've grown from just the 4 of us to almost 100 employees, 80 here in Delafield. These are high-tech, 6-figure software engineers and project managers. Our business plan calls for sustained 30% year-over-year growth for many years to come. We were recently named for the 3rd time in the last 4 years by the Journal Sentinel as a top workplace to work. So we're bringing a lot of pride to our fine city here. Our technology digitizes the way that large employers across the globe hire in a new age of digitization. Last year, we supported over 3 million interviews by 250 large enterprises in 200 different countries and territories across the globe. Clients like Wells Fargo, McDonald's, Johnson Controls, PepsiCo, Anheuser-Busch, the largest hospital system in the country, HCA, and more than 200 other organizations are trusting our technology with the way they hire today. So we received global recognition. I would welcome all of you to come visit me and us. I'd love to share with you the great and innovative work we're doing just down the street. 2 years ago, I was faced with the decision regarding where to locate our growing business. Hendricks stepped in and renovated the 440 building, allowing us to stay in Delafield. Once again, they demonstrated their commitment to our city. We have a desire, and I have a desire, to continue to build Montage right here in Delafield with the promise of continuing to bring dozens of 6-figure high-tech jobs to the city and its restaurants and merchants for years to come. But to remain in Delafield, we need a community and local leaders with the courage and responsibility to support this business growth. We have a high degree of investor interest in our business. It's extremely strong. Just within the last week, I received 7 bids from private equity investors wanting to invest millions of additional dollars on top of the $25 million we've received to date. As I've met with each of these investors over the last couple months, they've questioned our location and have wondered whether we can continue to scale our business here. I have assured them this community is ideally located with access to both Milwaukee and Madison markets for software talent. But their primary question to me is my primary question to you: is Delafield open for business? And within 2 years, I will face the same question and challenge I faced 2 years ago. Can I continue to build my business here and our business in Delafield, or will we need to take it to another community that's prepared to support our growth? And at that time, we'll have close to 200 employees. So in summary, we need local leadership that is forward-thinking, innovative, and prepared to embrace the goals of the 2030 plan. And we need a plan that appeals to the heritage of our fine community while also appealing to the future, the digital age of work and consumerism. As you have heard from my colleagues and I, we are united with a broader and growing group of neighbors in support of this project. It is meaningful economic development that helps our city become more self-sustaining through a multi-use facility. It meets the critical goals of the 2030 plan. It brings together the differing architectures of our city. It adds much-needed tax dollars, and it supports our existing and growing businesses. We ask for your support and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, committee, thank you very much.
Thank you.
John?
All right. Sir, why don't you come on up?
Presentation. Yes, sir.
Hi there. I'm Fred Orlando, and I live on 1219 Milwaukee Street on Delafield. My wife and I have been so excited.
Please try to speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry. I'm trying. Have been so excited to be part of the Delafield community. And quite honestly, I'm listening to all of the speakers in advance of me coming in here, and I agree what we would want to see developed in this community. In fact, I was so excited to hear that this development was coming, and when they knocked the gas station down, and then they said that Hendricks was coming in, we were excited. Well, I took a walk this morning, and I'll pass these out to you, and I walked through Delafield, and I'm sorry in the back I don't have the techiness to do it, but you can see what I found in downtown Delafield. It's a feel, it's community, it's just a signature city. And so I was excited with the continuation of the growth of this city. And then 2 weeks ago, I walked into the mobile station across the street. And what I saw, and I think you've all had it up on the control, what you have is just this stark differentiation of a different type of architecture does not feel the flow and the community of Delafield as we have watched it grow. It's a signature city. They come from all over. We go shopping, walk the streets. My wife can walk in and out of town. I bike out to Oconomowoc. It's a beautiful city. It's a place that we should continue to grow. When Amy was up here talking about Belfry Kitchen, that wasn't just a barn that was built there. It had a nice tower, it had a nice roof line. And what I'm saying is, come to us. Give us all the things that you're bringing. You're bringing restaurants. You're bringing business locations and condos. This town will grow, and that's what we all want. But it should be part of Delafield. It should be, when you look at that right there, you see how stark, that's not Delafield. And so I'm 100% behind the growth, and I'm excited about it in truth. And then where I am disappointed is, in fact, in the paperwork that I picked up this morning, and I do happen to have a copy, I hadn't seen this until this morning when I went. And I don't know if any of you know about this, but there was an alternate design that was presented that has the looks, and I will leave it up here for everybody to walk through, but very much the size, the structure, underground parking, all the things that were proposed with the one today, and yet it's our town, it's our family. This is where we come. So, more than that, what can I say? I'm 100% behind the community, the growth of the community. We are lucky, we are fortunate to be part of it. So, that is all. I don't know if I should bring these up or pass them around.
You can just bring them up here and we can pass them around.
That's good. So,
but thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next? Jim, come on up.
Mr. Orlando, do you need those back, or can they be attached to the minutes?
Good
Okay.
evening.
You would have these would be part
Right, they're part
Jim
of the
Zorich, 1940.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Jim Zorich, 1948 West Shore Drive. I also have, with my wife, 10 acres on 468 South Genesee. And I'm here to speak on two subjects. One of them, which I was very happy to see occur, is item 4, City of Delafield citizen comments pertaining to items on this agenda. I was concerned that because of the number of people in this room, it may turn into something where it would be more appropriate at a public hearing where anyone is allowed to speak. But as I heard, everyone that has spoken previous to me are residents. The importance of that is that decisions made this evening and in the future affect all of our property values. And at this particular juncture, when we're appearing in front of the Planning Commission, I would hope that those people that address you are city residents. Having said that, we'll move on to 705 Genesee Street. And I reference Roger Dupler's zoning report to the Plan Commission. And yes, I've been a resident with my wife here for in excess of 30 years. And we've seen Delafield develop. It's become a destination. And when you have something that draws people as successfully as our city does, I was very disturbed when I saw one of the signs locally that talks about the, get my act together here, the fact that they are, excuse me, I don't have the notes that I would like to have in front of me, transforming. That Prestwick came here, they left. Hendricks is here, transforming Delafield. Now, I'm a dummy with a smartphone, but all you have to do is ask your smartphone, what does transforming mean? And the definition that comes up is that it is a change, one of the definitions is a change of character. Do we want to see the character of Delafield change? I, for one, do not. What ensures what we currently have? Was there zoning restrictions, limitations? When Prestwick left, it's because they tried repeatedly to circumvent our ordinances and the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is extremely important, but coupled with the comprehensive plan are restrictions to construction.
3 minutes, Jim.
As we look at that which was presented in the e-packet for tonight, they'd say that you have to allow this, or otherwise it won't work financially for the developer. And I look at it from the standpoint that in the past, when people want to do something that is out of the norm, they put in an offer to purchase on property contingent upon, and they're contingent upon approval from the city. What's occurred here is the cart before the horse. They bought the land, they spent $3 million on it, and now what they want to build is something that opposes our zoning ordinances on numerous facts. They talk about the height. The Delafield Hotel is similar in height. It's set back from Genesee by hundreds and hundreds of feet. This is right on your doorstep. The shadow from that building will block out daybreak. All I ask is play the same game. We have ordinances, we have restrictions, abide by them. And I'm sure it can work out. But if you don't, you can't cry because you did not do due diligence in the purchase of the property.
5 minutes is up, Jim.
Isn't that perfect? Thank
Who
you.
would like to be next? Raise your hand and we'll bring you up. Come on up, Jackie.
I have handouts of the agreed upon, you can just share them.
Thank you.
Oh, this was in the packet.
Good evening, I'm Jackie Valdi Milstead. I live at 816 Mills Street in Delafield. I've been here for 18 years, and I love it. I also represent the city of Delafield's 3rd District, and much of the downtown businesses are my constituents. I care very deeply about what happens to this city, especially not just what happens, but how it happens. My concern is involved with not the idea of development, not the idea of the type of structure proposed by the Hendricks Corporation, but it's the way in which it has happened. Number one, they came to the city a couple of times with a much taller building, a little more aggressive, very industrial, works extremely well in some of the other Hendricks projects that we're aware of. One of the meetings that Hendricks left with, I think it's on page 168, Mike, on the slideshow for the e-packet. It looks not like Colonial, but the project, as was discussed with city administration, looked like it would fit in. It would complement what's there. It also met the setback codes and the height restrictions. But that isn't what happened, and this is where my concern is. The process changed dramatically without, to my awareness, warning. I actually discovered a large sign on my way into the gym one morning, and I took a picture of it because it said Transforming Delafield, 705 Genesee, and I thought, did I miss a meeting? Did I miss a memo? I don't remember voting for this or even seeing it, and that's my concern, is that the 705GeneseeStreet.com site speaks about the project as if it's done in the planning. It isn't until you get to the very bottom of a multi-scrolling adventure that you find out that there's a meeting tonight. That bothers me in terms of process. It's dismissing every single person sitting here and the Common Council. And it makes me nervous. I love walking. I walk to Belfry. You're one of my favorites. Every birthday, every anniversary. I have relished living here. I am a little jealous that the Hendricks Corporation has been so cooperative with everybody, but from what I can tell, us. That's a plan that the city could get behind. That fits within our parameters. So the campaign that was waged is on the internet, and it's a very impressive website. The Delafield neighbors